In recent weeks, the growing tide of persecution in India has slowed considerably. But this virus won't last forever. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is Breakpoint. Nobel Laureate V. Naipaul, referring to how its people resisted top-down rule, famously called India the land of a million mutinies. Apparently, for many of the 1.3 billion people there, the laws were thought of as suggestions and obedience as negotiable. Well, the era of COVID-19 seems to be an exception. The New York Times recently reported that Indians aren't just dutifully following Prime Minister Modi's lockdown order, but are going above and beyond it. Well, that sudden outbreak of rule following means that for many Christians, there's a break from the persecution that has escalated since Prime Minister Modi took power in 2014. Religious freedom really shouldn't be as precarious in India as it's proven to be. While the preamble to their constitution declares India a secular state, this doesn't imply the elimination of religion from the public square or even the non-involvement of government in religious matters. The secularism decreed by India's law is that no religion can enjoy privileged status over others, which, in a country that is 80% Hindu, guarantees religious freedom and tolerance. For the first 5 decades after independence, it worked for India. Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, and other minorities played major roles in Indian society. Prime Minister Modi's predecessor, in fact, was a Sikh. 5 presidents of India have been Muslim. Indian Christians have been instrumental in creating the country's space program and have served with distinction in their armed forces. During the late 1980s, however, Hindu nationalism made a comeback. It rejected religious pluralism, aiming instead for India to become a Hindu state. In the view of one Hindu nationalist leader, a non-Hindu in India should be considered, quote, at best a guest and at worst the bastard child of foreign invasion, end quote. The political manifestation of Hindu nationalism there is the BJP, which is the party of Prime Minister Modi. The BJP even has shock troops known as the RSS, a paramilitary volunteer organization with an estimated 5 million members. The primary target of Hindu nationalists so far have been India's 200 million Muslims. Thousands have been killed, including dozens murdered just a few weeks ago in Delhi by mobs that were egged on by both the BJP and RSS leaders. Christians are also considered, quote, bastard children of foreign invasions and targeted by Hindu nationalists. In fact, the single deadliest modern attack on Christians took place not somewhere in the Middle East, but in the Indian state of Orissa in 2008, where an anti-Christian pogrom there killed more than 500 people and caused another 12,000 to flee their homes. In 2017 and 2018, nearly 900 instances of violence against Christians and churches were reported in India. At the same time, Christian activities have also been targeted and limited. At least 6 states now have laws making conversion to Christianity or Islam from Hinduism somewhere between difficult to impossible. Similar laws make it difficult for Christian nonprofits to even operate within India. In fact, in 2017, Compassion International was forced to close down its operations there. Now, the fact that such laws primarily hurt children, nearly 40% of whom are malnourished, doesn't matter to Hindu nationalists. All that matters to them is building India into a Hindu state. The growth of this ideology in both numbers and power are why, under the BJP, India has now skyrocketed into the top 10 of Open Doors World Watch List. In other words, India has now joined religious persecutors such as North Korea and Iran, and even rank ahead of China and Saudi Arabia. Since people who cannot leave their homes also cannot so easily victimize their Christian neighbors, Christians are the unlikely beneficiaries of COVID-19 lockdowns. At the same time, as we've already seen in China and other nations, governments like Modi's rarely miss opportunities like this one to advance their agendas. And of course, the lockdowns across India will eventually lift, and then attacks there will likely resume. So let's keep our brothers and sisters in India, as well as the vulnerable members of other religious minority populations there, in our prayers. They need it. They also need us to pay attention and then to advocate loudly on their behalf with our own leaders. The decline of religious freedom in this, one of the most populous nations of the world, is something that must not be ignored. For Breakpoint, I'm John Stonestreet.